Getting up close and intimate. Totally not taboo with Tracy. Celebrating sexual positivity both in and outside the bedroom.
Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to really be talking about vulnerability and working with it as a man, as an intimacy coach, and in your personal life. And we're going to look at why is vulnerability so taboo. So without any further ado, let's have a chat.
Hey Trace, thanks for having me.
So lekker to see you again.
And you?
So we're both part of a multidisciplinary team with Intimacy Coach International. And on last week's show, I interviewed Anne-Marie Clulo, best known to us as Annie. And we looked at intimacy coaching and all the taboos around that. We had a great chat. So tell me what made you get involved in this type of work?
Well, as you started, for the last 10, 11 years or so, I've been involved in personal training, whether that be for more on the physical side, personal training, fitness training. From there, I got through to nutritional training as well. So all of this was kind of a very physical thing, a very aesthetic thing. And then from there, I just started asking a little bit more questions, a little deeper questions about life, about purpose, about meaning. Why is it that we are here? What is the whole reason for all of this? And then that kind of led me down into more of the, if we can call it spiritual, esoteric, etheric kind of realms. Started doing yoga. The nutrition that I learned previously, which was more of a bodybuilding nutrition, that changed completely to vegetables and broccoli for another 2 years or something like that. And then just with that change, more and more questions started to arise. I asked those initial questions about purpose and meaning, got a few answers, and then that led to more questions and more answers and more questions and more answers. And this went on it has been going on for the last 10 years, until a point where I asked a question. The answer that I got had to do with sex. The question was, if I can put it very, very simply, what is the base? Where does this all start? Whether that be your fear, your insecurities, your anger, all of your emotions, good and bad. Where does this all start? Where does everything start? And I mean, if we have to look at us just as human beings, it starts with sex. That's where it starts. That's how we all came into this world, with sex. And then I went and I looked even further into that. Yeah, it can't just be like men and women having sex to make babies, Sure, it happens in the animal kingdom as well. But I think if we have to break everything down to an even more finite level, scientifically we see particles and atoms interacting with each other. And as this interaction happens, something new is formed. It's a new creation. Sex, something and something coming together and creating something new. So when we talk about sex, for me personally, it's not this animalistic, human bashing of genitals together. It's for me, it's everywhere. It's happening right now with all of everything just interacting with each other, creating new things over and over and over and over again. So the answer to my question was sex. That firstly raised quite a lot of excitement inside of me. It's like, cool, it's like, now I want to go and learn more about sex. And then that took me about another 3 years or so. Dove into more of the tantric understandings of sexuality. And then 2 years after that, I found Intimacy Coaching International and Annie, as we spoke about. And then from that stage, she personally helped to kind of pull everything together and kind of say that there's a direction in this. There is a direction. It's all over the place as well. But there is some sort of direction that you can take safely. Safely is the biggest thing with this. And I'm going now into my second year of being under the umbrella of Intimacy Coaching International. And that's how I got here, asking questions personally.
Okay. So that's quite a long journey, but you are here. Do you feel that your journey as an intimacy coach is still continuing, in the sense that, are you still learning? Are you practicing? Because when we chatted a couple of days ago, you said that you're not quite sure what you're doing at the moment. And just take us through that a little bit in terms of your journey.
I can say that my journey as an intimacy coach hasn't even started yet.
Okay.
I've been learning it now, I guess, for about 5 years or so. And the more I learn, the more I realize that I need a lot more to learn. And I'm going through my own process now at the moment of a little bit more of the deeper work in personal development, if we can just broaden that field. And I guess it's the same idea as anything else. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, you go to university and you study for 5 to 6 years, 7 years. And I think that it's a very, very similar thing. What we are doing is, when we talk about sex and sexuality, a lot of it is physical. Yeah, sure. A lot of this is mental, and even more of it, all of it, is energetical. There are so many layers to it that we need to understand, and the depth that I want to go down to help people ultimately at the end of the day. It's on a personal level, it's going to take a little bit more dedication, a little bit more reading, and a lot more doing, a lot more experiencing. So I can say I haven't started intimacy coaching yet. I haven't started.
Well, you and I have worked together very briefly, and I can just tell you that, excuse me, on a personal level, I find you incredibly, when we talk about energy, I found your energy to be very authentic and very real. I know real and authentic are the same thing, but your energy is very sincere, touching, and vulnerable. And I suppose that we are here to talk about vulnerability in the work that we do, especially as a man working with women. And I know that you have done body work with Annie as far as your training is concerned. And that means working with women in a very conscious, intimate way. And I just find you to be incredibly mature when it comes to working with women and their bodies in terms of healing, not in a sexual way, even though we may be talking about sexual vulnerability in the healing. How would you explain your maturity at such a young age?
Thank you very much. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. It's difficult. It is difficult, and it's actually one of the reasons that I've stepped away from it. And now this is now taking us into vulnerability and what it actually is to be vulnerable. I want to do something. We all want to do something. I'm sure we all want to do something positive. Are you able to do that to the best of your ability? Me, at this point in time, for what it is exactly that I'm wanting to do, no, I can't. There's still a lot that I need to do first for myself. Repeat the question for me, if you want.
Just about vulnerability, working with women, where you have to. When we worked together, there was a lot of vulnerability. I know from my side, when there was energy between us, it was not even necessarily sexual energy. It was the fact that you were able to be vulnerable to me, and I was able to be vulnerable with you. And it brought out a certain amount of healing within me. And I'm just talking about the energy that you were speaking about, not necessarily sexual energy. So when you are working with women, with men, tell me about that vulnerability that comes through for you.
I think this energy that you're talking about, especially if we have to take into consideration sexual energy, all energy, yeah, but that sexual energy is very, 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 very powerful. It is what we are. Sorry, that's my belief. We are at the base of ourselves sexual beings. And there's many, many times that sexual energy kind of just takes over. It's just innate in you. It's in your genetics. It's what we need to do as humans in order to continue the population. We have to have sex. So there's this constant drive of this specific energy that's consistently pulsing through our bodies. And the vulnerability, I think, firstly just comes in knowing that. If we have to take into consideration a few of the societal pressures, the religious pressures, ideological pressures, a lot of it's got to do with suppressing a lot of the energies, energy being sexual or any other emotion that pops up. You need to hold strong. You need to be in control. You can't break down. There's people that are looking at you. They're looking up to you. They rely on you. No, you have to be strong. You're not allowed to feel. You're not allowed. And I'm guessing that's kind of leading into what I believe vulnerability to be. At least the first step of it is feeling. Sit down. Take out as much of the external factors as you can. And just feel with no judgment. It's the biggest thing, with no judgment. As soon as we place judgments onto this thing that we are feeling, whether it be happiness, aggression, frustration, sexual tension, just let it be. That's the first step, I think, to being vulnerable. And just notice that I've got this stuff inside of me, good or bad. There's something.
What I wanted to ask you is vulnerability as a taboo. How do you relate to that? In my practice, what I've realized is that, generally speaking, we imagine that men cannot be vulnerable. As you said, it is seen as you being weak, or you cannot share your emotions because you're a man. But I've noticed that it's true for women too. A lot of women think that they're being vulnerable because they can talk so much. But in truth, talking isn't sharing. Talking isn't necessarily connecting. So vulnerability as a taboo. What are your thoughts on that?
100% agree with you. We'll start on the more masculine side of things. It's a little bit more obvious there. Yeah, maybe just taking the last 50 to 100 years into consideration, the way that society has kind of been. Man goes to work, makes the money. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress. Not allowed to cry. Hurt yourself, get up, carry on going. You're a man. Come on. And this makes sense. All of this is changing, actually, quite drastically at the moment. If I can take this maybe a little bit more personal, comparing myself to my father, very, very different experience. He had to go through basic training in the army. He had to kill people. That's hectic.
Yeah.
And there's no time for emotions. Pick your gun up, get up, and carry on going, dude, or you're gonna die. So yeah, up until recently, I think men, you can't be vulnerable. You can't feel your emotions because, yes, as you said, that shows weakness. And if you're weak, you will die. There's no It's not a really great survival tactic to show that you are scared, to show that you are angry, to show that you are sad. It's not a good survival tactic. But even just with that one thing that's changed in South Africa, I didn't need to go and do basic training. I didn't need to go and do my national service. I wasn't pushed like that. You have to do it. You have to do it. And if you don't, well, no, that's not an option. You have to do it. And I think because of that, one small example, the way that men are changing the way that they feel about themselves and themselves within society is changing drastically. Let's stop there. No.
So for me, being vulnerable is about really bearing one's heart and soul to one's partner.
Big one.
And as Brene Brown says, it's about not wearing masks. Because the minute we wear a mask, we're pretending to be something that we're not. And by taking that mask off, we are being our authentic selves. And there has to be a reciprocation in this relationship, that if I can show you my heart, body, and soul, and I can remove my armor, then there has to be enough trust in this relationship where you also need to take off your armor. Otherwise, there can be no trust. How can I be really showing you my heart, body, and soul if you're not prepared to do it as well? So it's a big step of faith, a leap of faith, when we're prepared to be vulnerable in a relationship, in ourselves as human beings, the way we connect with other people. And when we're looking at intimacy as connection, not necessarily sexual penetration, as most people get confused about what intimacy is, because intimacy is about connection. Being vulnerable in your being, just being an authentic self, is quite a scary thing to do, because you really need to trust.
Indeed.
Anything you want to comment about that?
I think for somebody to be able to be vulnerable enough to love somebody else, that's immense. That's incredible. And I think in order for you to do that, as you said, the way that a relationship will work is for you to completely strip yourself down to who you are, for me to do the same, and then for there to be some sort of acceptance. I see you with all of your flaws and all your cuck. But that's cool. I still love you. Unconditional, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I still think that there's one more step that you need to do before that, though. Firstly, you need to figure out who it is that you are. Who is that authentic self? Because, we've gone through our lives, we've gone through our years, and this person's told you this, that happened to you over there. That person told you that thing. And so because of all of this, we start to develop this character, as you said, in order for us to survive and in order for these people to like us, And after doing that for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, just compounding all of these things that keep on creating this character that you've built out of nothing, really, it becomes difficult to break that down. Go back to that person that you were the second you were brought into this world. Because at that point, we were all the same. And then literally from 1 second on, depending on how you were brought into this world, you start changing and you start developing your armor in order for you to survive.
Exactly.
So I think a very, very first step is trying to find that person again, trying to find who that person is. And that takes a long time. It takes a very long time. And I think then once you've perhaps found that piece, you found this is what your puzzle piece looks like. This is what I look like. And now I fit there, I fit there, I fit there. You can kind of make your decisions. if we have to kind of bypass that and just go through to somebody and say, I want to be in a relationship with you, and I want to try this whole thing out, let's be vulnerable together. I think that there's a lot of benefit in that as well, because again, I need to come to terms with who I am. Yeah, I'm a good guy. I like to be a good guy. I don't want to be a doers. I don't want to be an asshole, but I am. I really am. There is a big part of me that's an asshole, and I need to come to terms with that first. Once I come to terms with that, no judgment. It's not good or it's bad. It's just asshole and savior. Asshole and savior. Just come to terms with that. If you're able to come to terms with that for yourself, then I think you have the opportunity to allow somebody else to be that person for you as well. And show that person, yeah, asshole and savior. Do you accept that? Do you as an external person accept that? That can also bring its own issues. That one person says, no, I don't accept that. And what does that do to you? It's either going to push you right back down into that pit that you've just pulled yourself out of. Or, if we've done enough work, that's fine. I hear you. I respect you. I accept you.
And I suppose that doesn't even necessarily mean romantic relationships. It can even just, relationships between your friends, your families.
Ultimately, it's with everybody. Ultimately, yeah, I'm looking for that unconditional love with everybody. A true, full acceptance of everybody.
And then, when we do that, we really expect the same level of vulnerability from the other. And something that's come up for me is that it's interesting how we can often be incredibly vulnerable with a complete stranger. And somebody we've known all our lives, we can still wear this mask or this armor. And that comes up a lot when I do eye gazing with my couples. I ask them to do eye gazing with each other. They've known each other for 25, 30 years, whatever it is. And they struggle to be vulnerable with each other. They cannot actually do the task ahead of them. And yet, if you were to ask me to do eye gazing with somebody who I do know or don't know, let's say, it might be easy for me to slip into that with some people, different to other people, depending on the situation and the vibes, the energy that I get with that person. It might be very easy to get into that eye gazing with that person. And then I'm vulnerable, as long as the energy is correct. And we were talking about vulnerability in terms of relationships. My theory is that why do couples early on in their sexual relationships not battle with sex? Why in the beginning of these relationships, couples are engaging in sex that could actually make porn stars blush? They're throwing off clothes in alleyways and swinging from chandeliers and what. But the minute they start to settle down into a relationship, suddenly there's no more sex. So what happens for me, as I've understood this, is that vulnerability starts to set into that relationship. And what does that mean is that you start to know me and I start to know you. And I start to see the stretch marks. I start to worry about the love handles on me. I start to be aware of the fact that you know my family, you know my history, you know my secrets. And then my partner might also start to be aware of his history, his secrets, things that might come up for him that all of a sudden he might think, oh shit, what if she rejects me or he rejects me because of something that happened in my past. So the minute there's more vulnerability in that relationship, the sex starts to diminish, because now I'm afraid that if the real me starts to come out, I may be rejected. So instead of that element bringing us closer together, that the emotional vulnerability bringing us closer together, and making our sexual intimacy so much closer, it actually is the very thing that pulls us apart. So what do you think about that?
I agree. Tracy, there's a reason that they call it the honeymoon phase.
Yes.
And the honeymoon phase is fun. That's what it is. It's a good time. And there's a reason that's the first 6 months to 2 years of a relationship. It's the fun time. You're not thinking too much. Your logic, if we want to use that word, it's kind of out the window. You're just going with that feeling, which is great. And yeah, you have fun. You have fun for your 6 months to 2 years. I would say, I don't want to put this on anybody, but I would say majority of relationships are not really based on authenticity. They're not based on who are you. I can see you, and I like what you look like, and I like the words that you're saying to me right now. Maybe we should take it back to the bedroom. And you do that, and that's fun. So you do it again and again and again and again and again, without actually knowing who this person really is. Yeah. Do you actually know? Do you actually know who your partner is? Whether it be the last 6 months or the last 30 years in a relationship, do you really, really know that person? And that's scary. But taking into account what else you said is that there's this fear. Maybe you do love this person. Maybe this person is the absolute pure ideal person for you. And they seem to like you because they've been here and they've been sleeping with you for the last 6 months to 2 years. They seem to like you. Or do they like this character that you've kind of built around yourself? Your survival character. Yeah, that's who they like. Because I know that dude. My survival character's charming. He knows how to get things done. But then you do that for 2 years. You wear this fucking mask for 2 years to a point where, you know what, chick, can I just chill, please? Please, let me just take all my stuff off, feet up. And she doesn't like that too much, or he doesn't like that too much. That's not the person I married. It is, but unfortunately, they didn't allow you to see them. And yeah, that brings up a lot of fear. You've loved this person for 2 years. You show them who you really are, and they don't like that.
Or maybe you didn't allow, what I hear you saying is that you were possibly showing the survivor or a certain part of you, not your authentic self. And then when you want to start coming out as your authentic self, because the survivor or whatever persona you've decided to go into the relationship with, because that was what your partner liked, when you want to take off that armor and shed it and become the real authentic you, that's not suddenly working in the relationship. Maybe did I hear you correctly?
Yeah. Where did your pretty dress go?
Exactly.
Yeah. Where did your tiara go?
Exactly. No. So we've now got to learn, either if there is real love there, we now have got to learn the other parts of that authentic being if they're willing to show them. And can we love them even though the tiara and the pretty dress are no longer there? Well, and then there's this fear. Will they still love me if I'm not the warrior, the survivor, the pretty princess, or whatever it is that they came into the relationship as? Yeah.
It's a scary thing.
And it is scary because we don't want to give our full selves away immediately. We want to make sure that the person we're engaging in a relationship with is trustworthy, and that we're not going to give our full heart, body, and soul into this relationship and make sure that we're protected.
Right.
But then how do we trust the natural progression of this relationship if we're not our authentic selves? So it is a bit of a catch-20. What catch-20?
Catch-20.
Exactly.
It is indeed. And I mean, this is why a lot of people that they say just be who you are
Exactly.
all the time, and so that you don't need to put your mask on. You don't have to take your mask off at a later stage. But that in itself is it's insanely difficult, and that's to do it all the time with whoever. I can feel within myself it's a slightly different character within myself at the moment than there was maybe 2 hours ago.
Exactly.
2 hours ago I was sitting around a table having lunch with a friend that I haven't seen. Completely different conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think even when I met you, there were two different personas almost. And it changes. We all change in different stages of our lives, and we have to adapt or die, as you said. But now, Carl, maybe on another slightly different level, you are a karate master, correct? You've got, I don't know.
I do karate, sure.
No, but you, stop being so modest. You have black belts and dans and I don't know what, I don't even understand it all. So you're very well achieved in your area of karate. Just for our audience, set the record straight for me, please.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's been karate training since I was about 7, so that's 23 years or so now. Last week, Saturday, pleased to say that I received my 5th dan. So,
brilliant. Sounds big.
Yeah. Halfway there.
Uh-huh.
Halfway there. Yeah. What else should I say about the martial arts? It's
Okay, so let me ask you, is there a link between vulnerability and martial arts?
Sure. I mean, if we can take a very, very small thing, standing on stage in front of everybody and performing a kata or having to spar with somebody for points. It's quite nerve-wracking.
Uh-huh.
But no, besides that, and this is actually something that I found out last weekend as well. It really is a test of who you are. It's a test of who you are. My sensei says karate is it's a self-taught sport. There's no teams. It's you and you alone. It's not even your teacher. It's not the person. It's you and you alone. And it's a place where you can probably a little bit easier break down that character and all those robes that you've been putting on to, possibly, maybe to a point of just you, whoever that is. So, the martial arts has helped me drastically in this. Because again, no one else really cares. It's just you. Nobody cares about how well you can do your thing. It's just you.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, something else has come to mind, something else that I know about you, and that is you're a model.
Yeah, part-time, yes.
And anybody who can see you now will see why. And I hope I don't embarrass you, but it's the truth. What about that and vulnerability?
Big. Rejection is a huge thing. Yeah. And I guess that's maybe how you know that you're getting close to this authentic part of you. If you go in and you get rejected we can even just bring this back to sex and relationships. You get rejected by a pretty girl or the handsome guy at the bar, and that kills you. That's hard. Shit, I'm not good enough. Maybe my face isn't pretty enough. My biceps aren't big enough. My bum's not big enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have a car. I'm not good enough. And that'll just push you right back down into that hole. I think that you're getting a little bit closer if you're able to face rejection and you see it as a redirection rather than rejection. You are who you are. This is who I am. It's if I think if you have to go through the process, you'll say to yourself, I've gone through this whole process to figure out who I am. Here it is. And during that process, I realized that all the shit that I needed to get rid of was you saying what you just said to me.
Wow.
Are you at that point able to be aware of that in that present moment? Because that's what's going to happen. This simulation, if you want to call it that, it's designed to test you. And you say to yourself, no, I'm not. I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to work myself up to this, and I don't care what the people say to me. That's their opinion. This is me. Whoever it is, this is me. And the strength that it takes for you to stick to that, when that person says, no, you are not that. And maybe you're not. And this again will bring in that vulnerability. I'm saying this is who I am. You are saying, no, this is who you are. Maybe, perhaps. The vulnerability comes in to ask that question. The beginning of this whole journey, a little bit more of a personal experience. The beginning of this journey was you want to be a good person, You want to be a good guy, so you want to help people. You want to educate, and you want to uplift, and you want to be a good person. So that person irritates you. That person says something, and I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I'm not going to retaliate. I'm a good guy. But inside of me, that frustration and that insecurity and that anger is just building. And the vulnerability is coming in to realize you are a good guy, dude. You're a good person, but you're also a bit of an arsehole. You're also you're not this guru dressed up in white robes. I tried to be. I did try to be. And there was a big break when I realized, no, I'm actually a bit of an arsehole. And I think that I need to be a bit of an arsehole in order to survive. Because that character that I chose was survival. People like this. People like the Christ-looking guru kind of person. He's a good guy. And for a while, that was my survival tactic, And not being an arsehole actually pushed me down even further.
Yeah. And I suppose when we learn about who we are, we have to try on different personalities. And it is almost like putting on different clothing.
100%. Try the jacket on. Walk around with it for a week or so. You don't have to buy it.
Absolutely. Try it on. See how it feels. Does it fit? What are people's reactions to that jacket?
I think yes. Just maybe bearing in mind that we must just make sure that that's not just another mask, and not just another character.
Absolutely. But it is part of growing up and finding out who we are.
Exploration. Indeed.
Exactly. And the truth is that, the adult brain only starts to develop between, some say 25, some say 28. And there's so much more growth after 28 where the adult brain actually starts to develop. And so many people are still trying to work it out into their 30s. And you're not going to look at life the same way at 38 as you did when you were 28. Your views change so much, you mature, you grow, you actually settle into your skin. And certainly by 40, you've got a better sense of who you are. And I'm not going to tell you what happens at 50. But the other thing that you started talking about was rejection. And so much rejection is so much part of the work that I do with couples in terms of men feeling so rejected sexually, and then women feeling so rejected sexually. And the hot topic that I spoke about on one of the radio stations was, why do men feel so rejected sexually? Or why do they take it so personally and feel that deep sense of rejection when they are rejected by their partner sexually? And I remember Annie telling me once that women in particular, but since I've done some more research, I can verify this by the research that I've done, is that to be rejected from your tribe means that you are literally being outcast. And for women, in days gone by, many thousands of years ago, well, not so long ago, if a woman was thrown out or rejected from her community, she knew she was not going to survive. The chances of her surviving were nil, because she depended on her tribe or her community so much for survival. She needed the men to hunt and for her food. She needed the woman to support her with her children. And she just really knew that if she was outcast for whatever reason, she would surely die. So that's why as women, we feel intrinsically really afraid of rejection. And reading up further about men and rejection, the same can be true. To reject somebody is to feel completely and utterly abandoned. It also, scientists say that the physical pain that one feels is very closely connected to the brain response. Should I say, when the physical body feels pain, it is the same reaction to the emotional pain. So rejection is huge. It's painful. It hurts in our cellular system. So yes, it makes us feel incredibly more vulnerable and questions our identity in so many ways. So I can only imagine what, you get your validation from how you look. Magazines, every photograph that's taken where you look super gorgeous. And then you get rejected by the way you look too.
Yeah. And this is even after, hopefully you've done a little bit of work. Hopefully you've done a little bit of work so that you do find yourself in a situation like that where, we can use the word rejection. And hopefully you've done enough work to be able to step out of that charge. As I said, you make a decision to do something and you are going to test yourself. You can say that the universe is going to test you, God is going to test you. I think you test yourself. I say to myself, I want to be a professional bodybuilder. And it's not going to happen if I just sit here talking to you. You got to get up and you've got to do something. And that will bring up its challenges. I don't want to go to gym today. I don't want to wake up at 6 o'clock and go to gym. It's raining. No. And the same goes with your vulnerability. You say to yourself, I'm going to start looking at all of these things within inside of me, all these things that I've suppressed, all this shadow stuff, all this and I want to transcend it. And that, in many ways, that's instant. All you need to do is just be aware. All of whoever's listening right now, you can do it right now. Just be aware that you are hurt. You are hurt. And there's shit inside of you. There's a lot of unease and dis-ease inside of you. And once you're aware of it, you bring it to the light and it's gone. In that instant, it's gone. And then you take one more step forward and things start to change. You take another step forward and you start hearing the rejection again. Everything that you heard in the past that built up your character, you've broken that away now through awareness. Yes, cool. I am broken. No judgment. I'm broken. Cool. And then you carry on with your day. And then it takes that strength, that consistent awareness to say, yes, I'm broken. And you say to me, Carl, you're an asshole. Yeah. You give me all the other words and adjectives to describe the type of person that I am. And yeah, and that's all I've got for you. I don't have anything else for you.
That is true vulnerability. So, Carl, I want to thank you for being nothing but completely vulnerable here today. And wow, being just so completely authentic in yourself, in your true self. And sure, I just have so much respect for you as a person. I can't actually imagine you being an arsehole. Seriously. And I just wish you so much luck in your journey, finding yourself, if it's as an intimacy coach or whatever it is that you choose to embark on further. But you've really been so completely, utterly vulnerable here, and I've really enjoyed this chat that we've had. And if people do want to get hold of you in terms of inspiration, in terms of becoming their more authentic self, just connecting with you in any possible way, how would they do that?
Yeah, as we said in the beginning of the show, I've kind of stepped away from seeing personal clients at the moment, just so that when I do that, I can do it to the best of my ability. And also, I want to help people with what I'm going through right now. You know? So let me get through that first. Let me write the test. But besides that, this is vulnerability. Vulnerability is talking. Vulnerability is talking. And for people that want to do that, I've got no objection for that. You know? I think it's very important that people start getting together and just expressing. So I have seen a lot of men's groups and men's circles that are coming together. And as I said, you know, vulnerability within man is we're starting to express. We're feeling more comfortable and confident in order to express what it is that we're feeling and thinking. So yeah, besides me, talk. Your friend, your mom, your dad, your brother, your child, talk to them, because they can also feel it. And you as a parent, I mean, listen, I'm not a parent, so maybe I'm not the best person to be giving advice for this, but it's okay. It's okay if your kids can see that mom's really tired, mom's really angry or frustrated or sad, you know. It's fine. You are allowed. You are allowed to feel. Even if you're the top CEO of whatever Fortune 500 company and you've got millions of people underneath you, it's a big responsibility. You too are allowed to cry. You can feel that. So yeah, sure. If you want to get in contact with me, you can go onto the Intimacy Coaching International website. All of my details are there. Send me an email, give me a call, whatever it is that you need to do.
Great.
But more importantly, just really feel that thing, and then just express it. Words, actions, however, own it. It is you, and that's fine. You dirty little pile of poo.
Thank you, Carl, so much for making yourself available here today. Again, it's been a pleasure seeing you again after a long time and chatting to you. It's been an absolute privilege for me. And learner lovers, if you want to get in touch with me, please contact me on my website, tracy@totallyme.co.za. Did I say that correctly? Yeah, all my social media handles at Totally Me Tracy. That's Tracy without an E. Website, sorry, I just had another look. It's totallyme.co.za. So have a wonderful further part of your day, your week, and we look forward to seeing you next week again on Totally Not Taboo.